Welcome to episode 4 of the Carl O'Connor podcast with Craig Lynch. On this week's episode, we have a coach that was probably before his time, some say. A very decorated coach slash manager. We're very lucky to have Val Andrews. So, Val Andrews, welcome to the podcast. Thank you very much for taking time out of your morning to give us an hour, and hopefully we can have a good conversation and maybe tell a few stories as well along the way. So thanks very much, Val.
To be honest, I'm delighted. You know what I mean? The excitement today is whether I walk around the 5 kilometers clockwise or anti-clockwise. So that's for later. You know what I mean? Like sometimes these decisions get to me. I'm first of all, thanks very much for asking me. I'm humbled, to be quite honest. You know what I mean? I don't think I've too. The only thing I've learned over the years at 60 or whatever, 62 was I've learned that I don't have the answers and I don't know that much.
No.
So we'll finish on that, and come here, it's been nice knowing you.
So yeah, before we kick on, Val, how has things been during these lockdowns? I suppose.
COVID, I would find COVID hard now, to be honest. This one, I find this one hard. In terms of humour or that, I'm not going to lie about that, that's part of my personality. It runs in the family anyway, so you have to guard against that sort of thing, with low humour and that, and you know what I mean? And you get spells. But look, everybody gets spells. I'm no different than everybody else. Do you know what I mean? The whole thing is just to get on with it, unfortunately, and live it day by day, minute by minute, hour by hour, whatever you have to do, and do a bit of structure. Do you know what I mean? I have to keep structure in my life. I hate saying that. When I was your age now, I thought anybody with structure or routine was boring. Do you know what I mean? I thought fucking get rid of them lads altogether. You know what I mean? Fellas who go out and cut the grass on a Sunday and that sort of crack, or hold hands and walk down beaches with their missus. I was always confused by this sort of behaviour, but I realised that actually I do need a lot of routine. So I get up at a certain time. I get up at 6:30 in the morning and say a few prayers, and then try to move on through the day and plan things. You know what I mean? Finish up with a few prayers at night. So, and that's basically for my head. Just to keep me grateful that I'm alive, and to be grateful that, do you know what I mean? It's a good morning, and I get to talk to you, and you are stupid enough to ask me on.
We get cracking. We get right into it.
Right.
Obviously, anyone that's listening um, know, knows who you are. Anyone that's listening knows that you're a successful Gaelic football coach, manager. Um, where did all that start? Was Gaelic football, I suppose, dominant in the childhood growing up, or was it later in life that you kind of got the?
To be quite honest, with you, Carol, Gaelic football is sort of embedded in me. It's genetic. My grandfather was the first captain to win a national title with Meath in 1912. Right? So I keep that quiet, because he wasn't an Andrew, so I get away with that one. You know what I mean? No, his name was John Newman, and he was chairman of Meath County Bar for probably 13 years, and he built Park Talton. So that's the sort of stuff I come from. So a lot of the madness in the football comes from my ma. My ma was an absolute unbelievable Meath supporter, and she'll go to matches, and she went to Crow Park and she was about 84, you know what I mean? And she hated loud. Nothing new in that situation. How did I get into it? So then, I don't know. It's really funny how you start with street leagues. Do you know what I mean? That was it. And a few people, 600 houses in Ballymun at that time, before they started changing the call it Glass Neville and all this old nonsense. But yeah, and it was predominantly country people who settled there. And Cyril McCall, who would be Jerry McCall and Anton McCall's dad, started the street leagues, and they were big. There was a huge amount of kids, you know what I mean? There was 5 or 6 teams, you know what I mean? She was like the All Ireland, to be roused and all, between the parents was sort of the real deal, you know what I mean? It wasn't going down and having a cup of tea, it was really good, And I remember a good story from that is that, I don't know, I had terrible temper when I was a young fella. Do you know what I mean? And I was playing centre back against some fella, and anyway, whatever happened, anyway, I kicked him. This fella, across the shoulder and the ear nearly, right? You know, it was a terrible fucking, honestly, right? And all the parents, of course, like, are there, you know what I mean, roared, send that dirty off, you know, the whole lot, right? So the referee comes over to me now. You're only under 12, like, you know, like, you know, right? He comes over to me, right, and he says to me, his name was Danny Bagnall, right? He drank with me dad, right? He says, for fuck's sake, Val, right? He says, go easy. I know your father. And that was it. And I got red. He took me name, you know what I mean? I should have been sent off, like, but no, I don't mean that thing. It's there to start the things that happen. But no, it was really serious. We're really serious on the thing. We actually played Dundalk schools in 1972 in Crow Park, and we played them in the clans in the Coca-Cola Challenge. We were the Dublin champions. I don't know who would have been playing for Dundalk. I know I was centre back and he was centre forward. Could have been Wiseman. He gave me fucking roasting, he did. Do you know what I mean?
Aiden Wiseman.
So even before I ever went up training the clans, I was getting roasted in the clans.
So and then so Val, obviously then you on the player for
I
Ballymun.
didn't. Well, to be honest, with you, Carl, I lost my way. Like, I was a good footballer. Like, I was a good footballer, juvenile footballer. Yeah, like, but yeah, I'll be honest with you. Like, I suppose let's be straight. My dad died, and I sort of lost my rudder then. Do you know what I mean? I didn't. I sort of just my teenage years. I just interested, not interested. Wasn't really at the races. Like, wasn't motivated to. Do you know what I mean? I go out and play football because I like the lads and have the crack. And that has to be really acknowledged. And you know what I mean? Like that, it sort of kept, like made friendships for me and kept me together. I'd say. Do you know what I mean? Through a time that I wasn't good, I was lost. I'd be honest, with you, I was lost, sort of spiritually. I was doing good in school. I was always good at school, but you know what I mean? So yeah, so when I got to 18, well, we won a minor championship, all right, but I wouldn't class myself as being sort of anything major, just a corner forward at that stage, you know what I mean? But you know what I mean, after that then I went to UCD and sure I discovered sort of other things in life, and it wasn't books, like it was drinking and messing, like, you know what I mean, playing pool. You know, it was fascinating, I suppose. Like, I mean, I came from a Christian brother school, so I hadn't seen a woman. Like, all of a sudden, there's women in your class. You know what I mean? I was confused for 3 years about that at the beginning. And then you have to say to yourself, what do you do with them? Like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Because you can't do the normal things you do with a football team, sort of hit them a puck, like, and how are you getting on, like, apparently. So it took me a few years.
Yeah, and then like you just said at the start that the GA Val is like it's steeped in your
Yeah.
DNA. But on then again, you didn't really go on to play any whole pile of
Ah,
seasons.
no, yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose I shouldn't think. I won a minor championship, I won an intermediate championship, I won junior this and that, like, and few senior leagues, like, but I wasn't committed. Like, I see my young fellow who plays with the seniors now, and like, to be quite honest, yeah, in terms of dedication and devotion and sticking at things and that, like, he's my complete hero. I'll say that now publicly because, like, he was on and off that team for 6 or 7 years, and he had such a year this year. Like, after being taken off and keeping at it, like, I would have long gone, Carl. I went from the seniors when I was about 20 because I think they dropped me for the semi final of the championship, you know what I mean? And I was immature. And I suppose there's nobody really at home to say, here, come here, clap yourself on a bit, you know what I mean? And I don't think I'd listen anyway. I'm very strong, I'm a bit thick. I think that's the main thing. Okay.
Yeah, no, it was great to see them win the championship this year. But we come back
Yeah, come back to that. Yeah, yeah.
we'll come back to that towards the end maybe. So we're done then. Chairperson of Ballymun.
Yeah.
Coach.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So I did play now. I always played and I was staying, and you know what I mean? And I wasn't looking to be honest, I wasn't a bad adult footballer, you know what I mean? I could mark anybody on my day, like, if I was motivated. But yeah, then it came to that club got into financial trouble, 30,000 in the 80s, And so there was nobody mad enough to do it, like, Carl. Let's be straight about it, you know what I mean? Like, nobody wanted to be chairman of a club that owed 30,000 in the 80s, like. So the fella Tom O'Donoghue, you might have seen him on the documentary. He says, "Val, will you do chairman?" And yeah, Carl. I've been lucky enough. God has been good to me. Like, I mean, he gave me talent with books. Like, I was always good at exams. So plenty of degrees and all that, plenty of opportunity like that. In fairness, so. And I says, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Like, we'll put this business degrees into practice. And yeah, I got them out of there. got him out of the red, you know, developed the first time, developed the ground, developed the two pitches, made the first pitch the same size as Croker, because you know what I mean, I was thinking big, if you're going to do it. And got them thing and expanded the club from adult teams to five. Do you know what I mean? And I was in me, what, I don't know, was it 20s, early 30s. And I was married and I had two mortgages and yeah, and had a job and I was training the miner. So I was busy enough.
Yeah. No, definitely can imagine. Man. Said it probably give you that routine that you started the chat, like to be busy and kind of know what you're doing I
Yeah,
thought that was kind of the early days
that
of
was early days, yeah. But that was because, like, let's be straight. One, the man who asked me to do it, Tom O'Donoghue, was my sort of spiritual mentor. Like, he was an ex-priest, you know what I mean? He'd left the priesthood and that. And when my dad died, you know what I mean? He'd be looking after you, you know. He'd be trying to help you, you know what I mean? I didn't realize that until, you know what I mean? I was in the adulthood that, you know, he'd be
mm,
sort of, including you and getting you to do things. And he'd have me, writing up. I used to do the club magazine, like when I was about 14 and that, like, you know what I mean? He'd be putting it up, you know what I mean? He'd want to do it and all, but yeah, so he'd have you doing that and he'd have you, like, I mean, I managed the team when I was 14, like, you know what I mean? So, in the street leagues and that, like, so, you know what I mean? So I'm probably 49 years coaching, like, so but he did that because one, like I mean, at that age, like I was a good footballer, and Decky Sheehan actually, who played with Dublin, was on that team. You know what I mean? And I should have fucking dropped him down, but I didn't. Yeah, and I hope you hear that, Decky.
so yeah, Val, really busy. You could see that you were obviously a massive love for the club and to this day
Yeah,
still have massive love for the club. But just taking it away then from the club, early 90s, you took a big trip down south.
yeah, the early 90s. Yeah, because I was made redundant, Carl. You know what I mean? And I was married, and I had, you know what I mean? I'll be straight with you. I had any kids that got at that stage? I probably had three kids, you know what I mean, and two mortgages and no job, and uh, and a wife. But I wasn't going to stay at the job I was at anyway. Like I was an industrial buyer, you know. So, and that was the thing, is that I just had kept going at the old education, and I ended up with 3 degrees. So, uh, I said, sure, I might as well, thing. I mean, I'm not. Okay, I probably didn't devote myself to them degrees either. I was more devoted to Ballymun Kickham's than education. Do you know what I mean? I was just, I mean, look, I'm good at exams. Yeah, that's it. You know what I mean? And I know the system and I know how to do it. Like, and well, yeah, we ended up then anyway. Yeah, in Tralee. Yeah, Ogie Marn was on the board. Do you know what I mean? Ogie Marn was on the board. The thing, like, so they gave me the job. Yeah, and I went to Tralee and you know what I mean? It was a sort of like, I mean, there was a lot of things going on in my life, like in my personal life and that. And I have no, but I might as well say it. Like, I mean, I had a son who was born, like, and he was in hospital all his life, like, so. Do you know what I mean? I was dealing with that on an emotional and sort of spiritual level. I was sort of demented, like, I was, like, and I brought that to the football. Like, I mean, when I think of some of them, and football was such a huge, great vehicle to help me through another turbulent time, like, do you know what I mean, in terms of anger or any of that sort of thing. I'm sure some of the halftime team talks were fueled by it. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, I ended up in Tralee. Thought, to be honest, I'd be carrying. At best, I'd get to carry the water. You know what I mean? Because I'm going down. I'm from Ballymoon. I'm a junior, stroke intermediate, stroke part-time senior player, right? Yeah. Go down there. I'll get to carry the water. Sure, I'll get involved, get to know them, right? And went down, found that there's no real team in the college. You know, and then a fella called John Keller, like yourself at GPO or GDO, came and he was put in the college. And he was there, right? And it was just a sort of, it then became the perfect the perfect storm care. Do you know what I mean? You had a lunatic like me, right? Loose in Kerry. And I said, sure, this is Kerry. Do you know what I mean? Everybody has an All Ireland. Like. You get one in the change when you go to the shop, like. So um when I was there, then I was sort of. I remember asking this fella. I says, you know what I mean? I didn't know, to be honest. I wouldn't have known the Southern minor footballers. You know, don't forget we're dealing at that age, 18. I wouldn't have. You know what I mean? Who was the Cork minor? Who was the Cayman? Went up to this fella right in my first week or two, trying to get a team together for Division Two higher educational league, right? And I mean, trying to get a team together. And my sister says, "Come here. Do you play? Will you play a bit of ball?" Like he looked like he footballer, you know. Like, says, yeah, yeah, yeah. I says, "You doing it?" I says, "Ah, sure, I play a bit." And I says, "Will you come out?" Right. That's the way he put it. I play a bit. But he was the captain of the Kerry Minor team the previous year. Like, but you get that. Like, that's what they say. Play a bit. Like, you know what I mean. So I had to learn that Kerry wouldn't Kerry. Like, it's not what they say. It's what they're not saying is the important thing. Like, so. You know what I mean? So there was some look at Gar, that was some journeys. The best years of my life was incredibly funny and incredibly intense. And I learned so much. My God. I was just talking to him last night from a fella called Pat Flanagan. So he went on to train. He was not a sprinter, knew nothing about football, never played football in his life, nothing. And he was a sprinter and he was lecturing there. And I did always fascinated with speed. I says, if it can run quick in a game, in a field sport, yeah. So I asked him one day, would he do a session? And he went on, he won 3 All-Irelands with Jack O'Connor. You know what I mean? And just by sitting at a desk in the wrong college. You know what I mean? You know, when you think about it, like, I mean, and some, you know, you just, so I learned so much from him because he came from athletics, like, you know what I mean? And he taught me about weights and he taught me about planning and he taught me about periodization. And we used to do, I suppose we were one of the first crowds to start doing, you know, weekends away camps, you know what I mean? And we'd do 6 sessions or 7 sessions in a weekend. Do you know what I mean? And the fellas be looking and say, what did he say he's going 26 or 7 times in the weekend? And I said, how are you going to do that? But then I understood the theory, and the theory was you go after different energy sessions, you know what I mean? Or energy systems. So you can do a skill session, a weight session, do you know what I mean? You know, an endurance session, a strength session, do you know what I mean? All on different days, different things, like, right? So you could have 3 sessions on the Saturday and be all after going a different component. And the fellas didn't get as tired as I thought. But it was mainly from a point of view too, is that's why we won our first Sigerson, I suppose. Like it binded we did it up in Connemara, like, you know what I mean? And we couldn't really do the final set. We pulled the final session. We played Galway in a challenge, and I think we bet them. You know what I mean? So I said, I think we have a team here, and then we trained again. And but you know the way you pick up niggles. So this Sunday morning, then we had to go running. Like, but sure, we had let the boys out. Do you know what I mean? Run more like getting them to stand up. What's the fucking problem than run? Do you know what I mean? Like in fairness, like you know what I mean? They weren't in bed, like you know what I mean? Like, and we're going around, you know, get up, you know, at 8 o'clock you're going for a run, like you know. When I think it was, I got them up anyway, like just looking for it, so they'd remember it. Sorry, most of that stuff you're working on their heads nearly, you know what I mean?
Mm.
So they'll always, you know, they'll give it out and they'll remember. They'll not change. You remember he got us up out of bed.
Just what you speaking about, I suppose, learning about periodization. You know, back
Yeah,
in the early mid 90s. Just
yeah.
I just want to talk about that a wee bit more. Like, where did you get your inspiration, or where did you get your knowledge from that? Because, like you said, every team, every individual, every team sport, professional sports teams, you know, that's how their training is now planned. Like everything is around periodization, and like I said, it was probably unknown with in county teams in Ireland at that
I
stage. So
was,
where?
yeah. But that was a bumper. A fellow called Bompa Vershansky. But you see, I was working in a college with Pat and research papers and that. And that
Right.
type of planning was already in athletics. Do you know what I mean? It was about
Mhm.
peaking for his races. And he just brought that into thing. I always remember, you know, I mean, went up, sort of, we were going, was it 97? About round 97, start 97. And we call, he says, call up for a bit of tea. So we'd be always talking football, you know. So I called up a bit of tea. And he's in this room and he has this huge sort of white piece of paper now, massive. Do you know what I mean? And he's like a kid, like with big crayons. I said, what's he doing? Is he going colouring? Thought I'd lost him, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? I was going to bring him up Mala, but what he did was, what he did really, in fairness, was he was there with thing like, and he says, okay, let's do the plan for the year, right? You know what I mean? On his thing, huge, big. I mean, the sheet practically the size of the sitting, and he started with, and the big thing, like, you see, he wasn't pushing that much because I was lecturing a thing called operations management, which is a Japanese philosophy. You know what I mean? So, and it's to think you'd be thinking materials requirement planning. So you start with the product, yeah. Say if you're building a car, start with the product, break down all the products. You know, what do I need to build a car? When do I need them delivered? All that sort of thing. So planning at that level wasn't new to me. Like, but I'd never seen it done for a team. I'd never seen. So he says, all right. So he says, okay, we'll start right. So we'll go after, muscular endurance, then we go for hypertrophy, then we go for strength, then we change it into power. That would be the physical thing, right? Now, the gap in the thing is like in terms of football, and I know there's fellas doing it now, like, I mean, in terms of periodization of your football planning and all that. Like, I mean, you will know, Carl, that, and Craig, that they do a lot of planning in terms of physical stuff, like strength and condition, speed, any of that sort of stuff, like, they're all well planned now. Like, well, I don't know whether we put the same level of planning into the football side, you know what I mean? Into the same, like, I mean, many fellas periodise their football training. I know there's some of the soccer fellas doing it, like, and probably the professional soccer players. So, we didn't have GPSs, but we had heart rate monitors on them, you know.
Even yeah, even then, I'd say people who knew or were looking at you with a heart rate monitored on players back then were just like
And we're just lucky, Carl.
it
Like,
was.
lucky you're in a college that had them, and Pat knew what they were. You know what I mean? I didn't. I'm not taking the thing, but I would have a science degree as well, so I was always interested in that. Like, what type of heart rates do fellas get up to? Now it's GPSs, of course. Like, but yeah, it was very, very enlightening. And then it was a culture because that was trying things like them, like them camps, right? You know what I mean? And then building a culture was good. What I was good at was building cultures and team and tradition and routine. So, putting it out there, like, sort of. So, you know what I mean? So slow walks onto the pitch and sort of, all this sort of stuff. There was, it was always, you'll be always thinking about what you're doing, like in terms of psychology, like, you know what I mean? And then design an elaborate sort of, as I would call it. I used to call it in my own head, the hacker, you know what I mean? So I'd do a 30-man warm up, like, right, with the ball, with balls flying everywhere, like, you know what I mean? And I'd put it up close to the opposition. So as close to their half as you could go, right? I'd do plenty of roaring and balling and, do you know what I mean? And see if we could distract them a bit, like, and say, James, where are these boys at, like, you know what I mean? Like, but it'd be very ball oriented, power thing, but like, it was all planned, like, and it'd be down to the minute, like.
And Val, do you reckon your own players would know what you were at?
What I was doing?
Yeah, when trying to almost intimidate the opposition.
No.
No.
That'd be you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, no. So they were doing a warm up, right? You know what I mean? And I says, yeah, we'll do the warm up, but it also has another thing. Like, it's about sort of, and then you build up myths, you see, because then we became invincible. Like, the rumors go around, they're always training. Like, you know what I mean? They're all, this sort of thing. Jeez, they never stop training them lads. And we did. Now, in fairness, we trained at 7 in the morning too, and that was to build up a culture as well. So all these things get out, and then you start winning, like, and then the jersey is worth a few points to you. And there were blue jerseys, there were Dublin jerseys, So there are Dublin jerseys, but that's a different start. That was nothing to do with me picking a Dublin jersey, but anything was they were the cheapest jersey. I'll tell you how bad it was. We couldn't afford a jersey with a stripe in it. Generally, if you do two tones, like the Clans jerseys are them, they're dearer. So we either had to pick a straight red jersey or a straight blue jersey. And the fella helped me was from Cork, and he says the Kerry fellas won't wear a Cork jersey. Right, and I said, well, fair enough, pick the blue jersey. But there was nothing, it wasn't me saying we'd pick the Dublin jersey or making a statement. But years later, when we won one or two or three of them or whatever we were on, it became an issue. Like, a few of the boys saying, why are they playing in Dublin jersey? And I just said to them, I'll be straight with you. And I said, I'm sorry for coursing. I said, he's wearing too fucking worried when we were playing Division 2 down Temple Mall. You know what I mean? what cares? In fact, he didn't even know we existed. So
Yeah.
anyway, not to think that'd be. Go on, sorry,
Yeah,
Carl. I'm a terrible man for ranting.
no, you're grand. No, no, you talk away, Val. But I just wanted to bring you back there when you said about how kind of people thought you became invincible and the rumors and et cetera that went around. I think I read somewhere or seen somewhere that he's got the nickname the Galacticos.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and like obviously, obviously you won back to back
They
Sigersons.
won 3 in a row.
Um,
Yeah, I set up to 3 teams,
but
but I didn't do the third one. But now I'll put the Galacticos myth to bed, right? You know what I mean? Right. The reason when I went down there first, right, they had started a sports course. That was a huge thing. That meant we had a source. There was enough, like that's where we got Joyce and Kirby and Clarty's and all them. Like so, right? We when UCD were having 8 or 9 scholarships, right? We had 2. You know, so this bullshit that goes around, like I mean, Val was going around last year fellas into the college is completely true. No, it's no, it is. I'll tell you what happened. All right, so the first year was Jeannie Farrell was standing watching a match, right, and he had finished his degree in DCU, and he's a good footballer. He's playing with Kerry, and he's standing at a match, and, right, and I says, Jeannie, do you want to do a masters? Right, so he came in and he played. That was 1996. You know what I mean? 97, somewhere around there, right? Or right, whatever it was. That was him, right? John Casey was in Letterkenny. I got him down the scholarship. The whole key to the whole operation, the whole key to success was nothing to do with me. You know what I mean? We facilitated, and Pat was great and wonderful. Like the key to the whole thing was Seamus Moynihan. Full stop. Seamus Moynihan was the catalyst that changed the whole thing. Like in terms of now, don't forget we had Mark O'Reilly down there anyway. So there's very few of these. Donnan, okay, I did draft them in, but I probably only drafted 2 players a year. You know what I mean? They were already there, like, you know what I mean? And we believed in the culture of Barry O'Shea was there, William Kirby was there, Jack Ferriser was there, Pa Sullivan, you know what I mean? Corey Joyce was in the college anyway, like, you know what I mean? So, yeah, and they weren't Galacticos because they hadn't played with their counties. Do you know what I mean? Like, they played like 1998. Joyce and them won their All Irelands. They were minors. They were good minors, but they weren't stars, and we didn't make them. And no, and let's dispel the myth. No coach makes anybody a star. You know, we're too egotistical to say, Jesus, I develop. It's no. I look at John Small. You see John Small, right? Got All Star, right? He's Bandy one. I trained John for what? Under 14, 15, 16, maybe 3 years, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? And John Small did so well because he was absolutely like dedicated, couldn't stop training. Do you know what I mean? That's the only thing. Give me the information, like, and he was, I suppose, the only part I played in that, and I'm not right, is that I could provide him the information or challenge him, right? But anybody who becomes a great player becomes a great player because they have it. They have that mentality, like they have that focus. James McCarthy, unreal focus, unreal. Now, do you know what I mean? Like training every day is grand. Focused, like complete warrior. You know what I mean? Like complete athlete. But above all, that's what fascinates me because when I went to Kerry, like you're in Loud and you won your last award in 1957, right? Right. So therefore, like they won it, they had a certain attitude, right? I was fascinated when I went to Kerry. Like I came from Ballymun. Like I mean, there wasn't too many All Irelands around. A few of the lads out of our team in the '80s who played actually the Clans in the club championship, but yeah, they had won in '83. So anyway, they had won. Hargo had won. McCall had won. Cairns had won. Rock won. Everybody had won. Right. Everybody with 8 All Irelands was down in Kerry, and I want to. Honestly, it was all saying, Jesus, how come they have 8? How come? Why are they that good? Like, and I thought there was going to be some big fucking answer, like you know what I mean, like Michael Dwyer, like you know what I mean. I was going to go down and watch a few sessions. That's why, like, the bottom line is they train hard, yeah, they dedicate it, there's something, and you don't even get it in Dublin. Maybe they do it now a bit more, right? You'd always see fellas out kicking points at Carl. Okay, you know what I mean? You see a fella with a bag of balls, like, you know what I mean, on his own, kicking scores. You know what I mean? You'd be going home from thing and then Mike Frank. I had to go looking for Mike Frank Russell. Yeah, he was a star at the time. You know what I mean? When UL and he came to our college, like it didn't work out for him in UL. He wasn't on the course. So he said, "Here, I'll give it a try." Like, and sure, I couldn't find him. Like the lecturers are saying to me, like, "Where's Mike Frank?" You know what I mean? And I says, "I don't." Right, so I had to go chasing him down to Clonargan, like, and say, "Mike Frank, where are you at?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, are you going to go to college, like, or what are you doing? Like, right? You know, and to be honest, teacher now, lovely fella, right? Just he wasn't in the right spot. You know what I mean? But I rang the locals and I says, "Come here, have you seen Mike Frank?" Now this is Monday morning. Now this is exactly like right. He says, "Yeah, I seen him an hour ago. This is 11." And I says, 11, all right, yeah. Well, where is he? He was going up to town with a bag of balls to the pitch. That's why he could kick scores and Croker. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's amazing that you know it's no coincidence that you're speaking about the Ballymun guys there, and you know they have that same mentality, and it's no coincidence that they've been successful at club level and obviously at
yeah.
county level, you know, for sure, and you know I think you've got to mention, you know, you forgot to mention, I think you even Jim McGuinness down there for a few
Yeah,
years,
Jim, yeah. Jim, the
you
famous
know.
Jimmy. Yeah. Now, Jim, look at Jim. Right. I had him for a year, was it? Yeah, because, yeah, I had to go in 99. So, um, he came down in 1998. You know what I mean? And there's a story told about him, but I don't know whether it's true or not. Like, you know what I mean? But the first night he drove down to Tralee, you know, and he was in the following day, and he was saying, "Jesus, do you know what I mean?" I was going down with, say, Russell Street. Do you know what I mean? And like, lads, they're very friendly. They were waving at me. You know what I mean? You know, fellas waving. I says, "Yeah, Jim, that's because you were going the wrong way. It was a one-way street." Like, well, yeah. Well,
um,
you know, no, Jim. Like, in fairness, is like Jim had a lot of sadness in his life. Do you know what I mean? He had a lot of things. You know, with the death of his brother, his 16-year-old brother. Right now, his older brother didn't die until the end in 1998, I think it was. Like, you know, I mean, somewhere around the summer of 1998, which our season was over and that. But you know what I mean. So Jimmy has done exceptionally well, and I'm really delighted for him. You know what I mean, that you know what I mean, that he was successful, and 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 he seems to be content in himself and that. Like, you know what I mean. So yeah, he would have picked up on things. He's a good learner, like he responds well, and then he adapts things. Like, I mean, the things about time, and like, I mean, we used to always time things to the end, like, you know what I mean. So we're going out at 2 minutes past 10. We're going to Dwam's going to take thing. This party's going to take that. You know what I mean. So you know all that sort of thing. But like a lot of that car was because I was there and I was trying to convince these fellas that we were professional. Do you know what I mean? It was part of the gate. You know, that sort of overall that the team would say, yeah, we're well prepared. Like, you know what I mean? We have a plan. Sorry, Carol, go on.
no, dear grand. You keep her let. No, I suppose just mentioned Jim McGuinness there, Val, and
Mm,
yeah, a lot of sadness in his life. I read his book, and
mm.
you know he mentions you in the book briefly. You know about, I suppose, when he went down to Donegal, went down to Kerry, that you know, I suppose you looked after him, and you know you made sure, I suppose, that he settled in well, and I think the actual bit he says about he was over at dinner in your place, you know, and is that something that, you know, away from even just the football side of things? Yeah, Jim McGuinness is a good footballer, or Joyce is a good footballer, etc., etc. But do you think that the personal level, the personal relationship manager or coach has with player is important to get the very best out of the footballer as well?
Right. Well, what you say is completely true. Yeah. But when I'm doing all them things, like, or whatever, right, it's because of a philosophy, like, you know what I mean? Because Football's a vehicle for me. Like, well, not a vehicle, something I do and something I love, right? But fundamentally, right, I don't. Do you know what I mean? You know the way you hear a lot of people they talk this word holistic, right? You know what I mean,
Mhm.
right? But when I'm meeting you or that, like, I'm not. You're a young person and you're starting. You know, I get it helps me as a person to help you, right? And that's the fundamental thing. It's not. I'm not helping you to make you. So in other words, it's unconditional. I'm not going to help you. So you'll do something for me. Do you know what I mean? That's not the type of relationship I would ever try to have. Like, right? People will always respond to you helping them, right? But the motivation and the intent is, I'm helping you because I can, and I think it's the right thing to do. Do you know what I mean? And that's all I'd say in terms of that. Like, so, you know what I mean? So Jimmy, yeah, I helped him, or Don, and I'd help him, and make them feel comfortable, yeah. But I'd do that for a non-footballer. Do you know what I mean? Or I'd do that for a student in the class, or they, you know what I mean? That's, but I do think it's really hugely important. And if you look at a lot of the successful American coaches, do you know what I mean? They will have that type of philosophy. But you'll also have the other fellas. Do you know what I mean? And they'll equally be, you know what I mean? You can see fellas who win who treat people really, really poorly. And you see people who win who treat them really well. So for me, success, right? Success for me is not, and you know what I mean, looking back on my career, success for me is not the Sigersons or the medals or the railway cups or the leagues or the championships or whatever I've won. Like, do you know what I mean? It's things like it's things like a fella ringing me up 2 years ago and saying, "Can I have you meet you for a coffee?" Do you know what I mean? And he was a Dublin miner, and I won't mention his name. Like, and he says, "And Granny," and he wanted to talk about his miner days with me. Do you know what I mean? Because we'd spent 4 years on this journey where it wasn't just football. We did all the things we did in Tralee, but there was spiritual ends and religious ends and crack ends, and do you know what I mean? And looking after fellas,
Mhm.
right? And I had a fella, Jared Lynch, who's a current miner manager, fabulous fella so. And your man said to me, he says, "My man never stops talking about the mass you had for us." And that's 10 years ago. Right? And I'm not coming back into the religion thing. It's not the whole idea is not to I'll be honest with you, was not to force religion on anybody. I don't believe that at all. Right? It was to expose people to different ideas. And that has always been my way, whether it's, different ways. I love doing things differently. I love learning. You know what I mean? What way would we train? Like, what are they doing now? Less is more. I was only talking to Flanagan last night about that. Less is more. Like, like why? I mean, had a young hurler. A fella asked me for advice, and he's out doing 5 kilometer runs, and he's a hurler. He does it 4 or 5 times a week. You know what I mean? I'm there and says, "Where's the hurling?"
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Because he thinks the answer's in the gym and running. And I says, "You're a hurler, like 80% of your time should be hurling." And then ask them, "What is the game about?" It's like, "What is the game about?" I'm doing high catches. I'm looking at high catches, right? It's like trying to find dodos. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Because it's very hard. We don't really do any high catching. And there's a huge competitive advantage for the team now who will get good in the air over the next 10 years.
Mhm.
Because nobody would think catching and tackling. Right? I did 2 weeks looking for videos for tackling. Where, what I call it now, a tackle. Okay, we'll define this. Where a fella goes in, open hand, puts his hand on the ball, yeah, and dispossesses the forward. And I was getting an average 2 to 3 a game. Right, trying to get a Dublin fella where he's getting dispossessed. I have about 3 or 4 of them at the max out of a good few. You know what I mean? And the reason is why they don't bring it into contact. Do you know what I mean? They don't. Do you know what I mean? They just don't do it. So here's the question for the coaches: is I'll go down to the Clans, or I'll go down to the Martins, or I'll go anywhere, right? And I'll see nothing but tackle boxes. The big fellas tackling like hell, like, right, for hours, right? And we're getting 2 a game, and you might only get one of them. So what are we at like? Are we teaching them the right things? Or what is defending? So they're the sort of things would then they produce questions, and then I try to look for an answer, and then say, right, okay, is it about contact? Is it about turning the fella? What is it about? But the tackle box is like, here's a question: like, why would you be doing a tackle box for a minute? If I go, then this is every club. Like, I'd look at the coach and he's doing a tackle box for a minute. I say, what's he at? Go back to the energy systems that we talked about at the beginning. Like, when have you ever tackled a fella for a minute in a game? What's the longest you've ever tackled a fella? And I guarantee you, it's probably, if you ever got past 15 seconds once, do you know what I mean? Predominantly, it's 5, 6 seconds. So why are we doing 30-second intervals? And what happens when you get tired? All we're doing is pulling and dragging in the tackle box.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I would constrain the tackle to time. In other words, I cut the tackle. I'll do 10 by 10s maybe, or 20 by 10s, second tackles, whatever way you dream it up, right? And then the other thing I would say, the defender, you're only allowed 2 slaps in the ball. Because I want accuracy in the tackle. I don't want, as I say, Carl, the helicopter approach, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's
a high majority of players now, or high majority of teams now, I should say, the tackle is done with numbers. I find anyway, you know, even with my own club team lately, it's a case of when a player is running at you, you make sure you turn them. Don't foul them, you turn them back away from those to where your numbers are. Do you know what I mean? You don't be throwing in lazy tackles, because majority of the time now, most tackles turn out to be a free kick. So if I go and start tackling Carl, the high chance is going to be a free kick.
Oh yeah. No, you've knocked it. You've hit it in one. Like, but I'm just what I'm saying is what you're saying about in terms of development as coaches and that is always comes from the Japanese thing. Is always keep asking why. Like, is what we're doing in training what happens in the game, right? And that's the whole question, I think, and that's why I'm not a big fan. I'll be straight. I'm not a big fan of loads of cones because I don't see them in Crow Park. You know, or any of this sort of stuff. Like, play the game. You only have them twice a week. You know what I mean? For 70 minutes. Like, you don't have to be that inventive with the flexibility of stuff. Like, you ask kids, like, I mean, talk to kids, right? I had 2 kids who went through, we say, the system, right? How'd you get on training? And you used to get was, we only had a match at the end for 10 minutes. And we failed as coaches then. Do you know what I mean? I think coaches, and myself included, when I was young especially, I wanted to interfere too much. I wanted to be throwing the hand pass. I wanted to be throwing the ball in the air. Let them play the game. Now, you can put constraints on the game, right? But if you're playing a game and there's not what I call an end product in it, there's not a shot. Because the most prized thing in Gaelic or soccer, or indeed rugby, is scoring, right? And you know, you get good at scoring by doing a lot of it, right? Yeah, so therefore, when I see fellas doing possession games in boxes, it drives me bananas. You know what I mean? Or teams, and we play a game, lads, and you score by running over a line. Fuck it, you know? Like, you know, I'd be saying no. I'd be saying no. Like, you know, and I can understand why people do it because they think they need more and more variety and all that. But most of the time, we're playing football Tuesday, Thursday, and a game at the weekend. You know what I mean? And you can dress up football in small-sided games in lots of different ways. But there should always be a score and always defence in it. Like, that's my simple view of life.
Yeah, and I have to say, I have to be honest with you. I've been guilty of doing one or two of the things that you've just mentioned there, Val.
We
And
all
it's
do.
after you know that little the insight that you're after giving there is after I suppose making me rethink things now as well instantly. So it's brilliant to see your view on it.
Well, the other thing too, I would have brought in with the dubs over 40s is like, you know what I mean? If you're not playing intense football, you're not playing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I would have, and I got that from John Morrison. I've not bothered saying, like, I don't bother, you know what I mean? I get ideas all over the place. So starting with John, I says 3-minute games, yeah. And in fact, even better is 1-minute games. You know what I mean? 1-minute games. Do you know what I mean? Like, because really, we play 75 1-minute games. Right? But what you're trying to do there is train the energy system. Like, so when we're doing something, we're doing it really at a high pitch. You know what I mean? We're operating at 90 mile an hour. We're not operating, You know what I mean? Normally you're playing games and there's a bit of salt in around. Do you know what I mean? You're trying to cut that out. Like, so therefore, like you might say that your sessions might become shorter until they can become longer. Because if the quality's not there, perhaps you shouldn't be bothered doing it. I love one-on-ones. Like if you want to do fitness work, like I mean, look at. I don't think you should be really doing a huge amount of fitness work on the pitch, like and all that. I think that you need a good strength conditioning program, yeah, and you need a good component to speed, yeah, in your every session. Run run slow, be slow is the rule, and that was Flanagan. We teach you run slow, be slow, yeah. So you wanna if you want fast athletes, they have to sprint all the time. And they don't have to do, we used to think with speed sessions like was about 40 sprints, 40 sprints out to the 20 meters and back and that, you know what I mean? Like to be fellas throwing up and then, and the sicker they got then I'd be saying, Jason, that's a great session. Do you know something? I'm the man. I'm really good at this. Whereas really a speed session, right? A speed session for a Munster might be 300 meters. Think about it, like that could be 560s. That's it, and go home. Do you know what I mean? Like, because speed means I'm fucking running quick. I'm not like where the other thing is speed, endurance, the ability to repeat your sprints. So, if I was to start again with coaches, and the thing would be, I would teach them the basics about energy systems and how the energy systems match to the GPS data that you get. Right. So, what is the GPS data telling me that we're doing in the game? So I might be telling you I'm doing 28 sprints or, you know what I mean, whatever it is, like, 28 20-meter sprints. Well, then, okay, now I have an idea what we're doing, like, you know what I mean? Or you might have think, you remember we used to, when you got GPS first, we'd be saying, how far did he run?
Yeah.
That's bullshit. Like, I wouldn't bother with that metric at all. Like, it's nice, yeah, he did 10K or 12K. Well, really, it is it's the intense sports you really want to. How many max sprints did he do? Do you know what I mean? Or this big cruising speed, like that sort of stuff. Like fellas covering. Think of the game, they turn it over in their own. You think of Tyrone or Dublin or turn it over in their own half, and they all take off. 3 or 4 of them take off, like. So they're doing roughly about 110 meters. I wonder many times the GPS says they do that. I don't know. And if you want them to do that, then you have to train them like that. So that's nearly like training 200-meter runners or 400-meter runners, which means that you have to have a good weights program. Well, you see, that's where most fellas fall down. Then they probably don't do. And then the type of lifts they do, they should be doing, we say full body lifts, suggestive so full body lifts. So you should be doing. Okay, so I'm a simple creature. So, right, look on things simply. Who's the best at running quickly? Olympic sprinters, right? Yeah, right. So then I say, I remember saying to myself, well, what the fuck? What do they do? Do you know what I mean? What do they train? When they're lifting weights, like, what are they lifting? What are they doing? Like, and that's what you mirror, and they do Olympic lifts. So they'll be, like you see in the Olympics, like power cleans, snatches, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And many of the football teams we know do them. Like, there's a question. Like, and then the thing, we're doing high catches, right? Something high catches and this is high catches. So you notice that high catches, there's two different types at the moment, maybe more. High catches vary with the trajectory of the ball. So therefore, if a kick out was 3 seconds, as Vinnie Murphy would call it. So you have 3 seconds to get to where the ball is going to land. So that could be a few steps and a jump. Yeah, yeah. Whereas the full forward, a lot of the time, lucky to have one. It's more about positioning and one step and a jump, which is a vertical jump. So you're not coming off, right? So then I'm saying, well, how do I train that? Like, okay, do I need to train that? Most of them take off in their left leg. Yeah, one-legged takeoffs. So therefore, like, is my gym program reflecting this? Am I doing one-legged whatever? You know what I mean? Am I training, for what they take, and they land on one leg? Am I giving them sufficient strength then, to be able to do that? And then the other thing I'd be asking the question is, so then it says, best fellas that jumping vertically are basketballers and high jump fellas. So then I'll go on and say, well, we'll see what these fellas do. I'll try to get a few programs. What type of lifts do they do? But invariably, you'll probably come back to close enough to what the sprinters do.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And therefore, then And I don't know, like, Carl, you see, like, isn't that the unfortunate thing? Isn't that the unfortunate? Like, I don't get to see you or Craig train. You know what I mean? Like, that sort of way, really, like, or I get in to see, you're going in with Leo now. What are they doing in S&C? What type of programs are they doing? What you won't get into Dublin anyway, like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So what type of program? But like, what do we know? Brian Cullen came from 5 years of Leinster rugby. Yeah.
Mm.
So the odds are it's going to be very like the rugby program. It's going to be based on power. It's going to be based towards the sprinting end, power athletes. Look at Horland, which is even a more power game. Like, look at them. Like, look at Limerick. I mean, they're doing a rugby program. You know about them. Like, it's all about breaking tackles and that. Anyway, go on. I'll rant for Ireland.
No, no. You keep going, and it's I suppose just what you mentioned, Brian Cullen coming in and all about strength and
Mm.
power, and you look at the change of Conor Callahan from when he went into the team to his physique now, like, so you could see that there was a big emphasis on the power and the
Well,
strength of
you
especially
see,
him.
like, Carol, I'm glad you brought that up. Right? I looked at. I don't tend to analyse in public the Dublin fellas, like, because I'm from Dublin, and if you said it would be right. But Conor Callahan, right, is just unbelievable,
Mm.
right? And I'll tell you why he's unbelievable, right? He's a gym out the back garden, as far as I know. Do you know what I mean? Like, that fella is 24/7. I was talking about the other fellas that are focused, McCarthy, the Moynahans, the Dondons, all, you know what I mean? All these boys, like, yeah. Well, Dondon, you know what I mean? But the Galway fella's more, it's a different
Mm.
era. But the modern day era, like McCarthy's, Smalls, a few of the fellas in Ballymunde, I know, 24/7 merchants. Con Callahan takes it to a new level, apparently. Look, a new level. And
Yeah.
you'd look at him and you'd say, you don't realise how skillful that fella is because he's a bit bulky. Do you know what I mean? And when you're a bit bulky, you don't look as knacky. You know what I mean? Like, that fella has it all. He's bilaterally left hand, right hand, left foot, right foot, sidestep left, sidestep right. Unbelievable strength. You can't knock him off the ball, and he is absolutely key to Dublin. Right, key to Dublin.
So how do you
But
stop him?
how do you
How do you
stop him?
stop him?
Shoot him. No, I mean, like, he is like, put it this way: how do you stop him? You could stop him. Like, everybody can be stopped, right? But you can't stop him because he's five fellas around him. So you know what I mean. You go double team him, concentrate on him. Somebody else will do you. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Whereas
yeah.
if you're playing a team where he's on his own, you know what I mean. You can wipe it out. Here's the question, right? You look around all the setups, and this is in rugby, soccer, the whole lot. You'll have strength and conditioning fellas, Brian Cullen's everywhere. Yeah, everywhere. You different variations, right? Strength development, athletic performance development, all this sort of stuff, right? How many counties have skill development coaches? How many? You know what I mean? Even I went out to I would have went now, started traveling around a bit when you could travel, right? And I've been in Australia and they had skills development that fellas like now, with their Melbourne Demons or that, you know what I mean? Watching them train. Actually, I went again, like I went to Kerry. I thought I was going to see sort of the devil and all, like, do you know what I mean? Like, no, in fact, you'd be underwhelmed, right? And even our coaching thing, like, so yeah, so like the real frontier for me, and it takes such a long time. That's why we don't have them. Is how do you take a kid who's 10 or an 8 or in whatever age you want to start, right, and make them like you have to have a picture, right? So my picture would be in terms of skill, right? Gooch, Connolly would probably be even more complete because he's 6 foot. Connolly probably could play anywhere. You know what I mean? He had the ability to play anywhere. Now, he had the ability to get sent off anywhere as well, which is the other one. But outside of that, we just take the technical thing, right? Connolly, left foot, right foot, could do it, move the ball, you know what I mean? So you name it, he could do it. Look at his footwork, the whole lot, catching in the air, complete skills. He's probably near enough complete. Gooch, magician. Clifford, magician. Right? So you need to start studying. So I said to me, fellas, who's the best player? So Clifford, right? Here's one for you. Clifford, right? if he's in 1-on-1 on the goal, yeah, will always bounce the ball from his right hand to his left before he shoots. 90% of the time, right? Because he sets himself up. You know this sort of thing. Gooch, when I started looking at Gooch goal finishing, because he was one of the best goal finishers I've ever seen, right? Do you know what I mean? The ball would nearly barely get over the line, Carl, right? But when you look at it, what he did, right? He put at least 85% of his goals, right, from his left foot to the keeper's to his left. So left foot, left side of the goalkeeper's right. Yeah, 85% of the time. And that's what I say he was. So like basically, he nearly had it pre-done. Do you know the way you get the ball in front of the goal and say, "Geez, what am I going to do?" Right?
Yeah.
He was probably had it pre-programmed nearly in his head. I don't know whether it's delivery, but this is what it worked out was. I'm going to be putting it in that corner. It's like finishing up in darts, 8 or 4. This is where I'm finishing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he did it 85% of the time. He would do it like, and if he was going with his right foot, he went to the right side. Exactly the same. You know what I mean? So you get so you have to learn from these fellas. Like, I mean, there's been wonderful. That's the phone, of course. Can you hear that? Yeah. What on your That's Mickey Hart, is it? Oh no, no, get rid of it.
I actually think it's mad, Carl, the way he's talking about the skills coaches. Many counties have the skills coaches, but even when he said that the practicing the high catching, like I remember Colin Kelly done us out in the backfield in Darver, where we paired everybody up, and everybody had a cone and a ball, and we were about 30-40 meters apart, and what we had to do was kick the ball off the cone like a kicker to the player facing us, and all they had to do was go up and catch it. And I remember thinking at the time, geez, that's mental. So,
Yeah.
how simple is that? And that was probably the last time, realistically, I remember going out and practice, putting aside a certain part of the session to practice a high catch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's if the county players doing that.
It's just crazy that and Val made that point back earlier in the conversation that he reckons, and again, Val, you said earlier as well, not everyone's right, not everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but I find it fascinating that you said that the team who becomes better at the high field and the team who becomes better in the tackle over the next period of time, with the way the game's going, is going to, I suppose, bring it to a new level again, or who works on that. And it's like I could do wonder, because I know at club level, like I think sometimes the coaches, we just find that we just take it for granted that we can catch the ball, players can catch the ball over their head, we don't have to coach it anymore, we don't have to do it, it's something that they should be able to do. But I think we take that for granted, and it's a very good point. And I've seen you posted I think this morning, I was looking at a clip you posted this morning.
Well, yeah, the car.
And I was looking at that clip, and I said to myself this morning, Jesus, I haven't seen an like, that's an old clip. I haven't seen a player do that.
But the game, you see, has changed. See, what I'm saying is that we don't tend to kick the ball. So the thing is, you have to ask yourself, people don't do the Donny he catches, don't catch it around the thing, right? Say if you had 3 or 4 good fellas in the air in the full forward line. You know what I mean? Say your players on average were 8 out of 10 for catching, yeah? 8 out of 10 for catching. Right. And the player, and most of the teams now are no good, are poor in the air. They don't know how to jump properly, and they don't know how to. We don't coach it, or we don't not coach it, but just put it in their head, as I think we do more. Here's the thing, we're all gone soft, do you know what I mean? We don't really work for a living. Well, certainly used to don't. But anyway, no. But in terms of you take it, right. So we have to catch an object that was kicked at us, right? Yeah. So therefore, in terms of hand strength, wrist strength, yeah, shoulder strength, are we strong enough? I mean, you take traditionally the country lads, right? Let's be honest, we're better fielders than the Dublin fellas. Why? Because a lot of them at that stage, they were farmers, the big lumps of hands. Jeez, it was hand. You know what I mean? Catching the ball, handy for them. You know what I mean? They love doing it as well. You know what I mean? So, like, in other words, like, are our lads strong enough? Finger wise, not. And the other thing too is it's about I mean, I haven't looked at it deep enough. When I'm starting to look at it, is when you're catching it, like, it's about the impact of the ball on your fingers. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, are your fingers strong enough and we'll say absorbent enough to, like, for it to stick, that it doesn't off your palm and bounce out, like, do you know that sort of way? So when I was, especially with that, struck me with the hurling catches. So yeah, what it comes back to is, I'll be straight with you, is we don't prize skill enough and we don't coach skill enough. We'll coach speed and we'll coach strength and conditioning because they're handy and you can see it handier. Like, you can see the improvements handier, and quicker.
I've had this conversation, Val, with a club mate of mine, Sam Murray, and we were talking about. I just looked at your tweet there. Very good, very good. I remember talking, it was about a year ago, and we were talking about JP and comparing them to the new style of full forwards we have now. And
yeah,
I maintain now, I could shoot myself in the foot here and get a lot of stick for it, but I always feel this modern day club full forward would say at the minute, they can't win their own ball. They're very poor handling. And what JP was so good at and is still so good at is you can give him any type of ball and he's going to hold it. Do you know, it was just, and he grew up on a farm. She was saying he was the horticulture. He done a bit of everything, and he had that strength in him. Where the modern day forward now, majority of them are so poor, it hops off them, and their second touch is usually picking it up off the ground. You know, and that can't be underestimated.
Okay. Well, then here's the question, right? I know you agree with you, right? I think first touch, yeah, right. So, how often do we, what I mean? Do we do enough catching and kicking, or in whatever way we're going to do it, yeah, in game-like scenarios, right, to get good hands? And I would say no. And my observation would be we don't actually really go after that anymore. And the other thing too is you see with defenses, right? I come up to you, right? Yeah. So now, like, how do I go around you? Like, there's not that many fellas with a bit about them that can go take a fella on one.
No, robots. We are creating robots, and myself and Carl are doing that. Like, it's what we've been brought up to do. But it's robots, it's robotic movement, it's the strength and conditioning, and it's music to my ears hearing you talk about developing the skill and challenge the player through the skill.
Well, look at. If I was saying, right, so in Ballymun at the moment, right, we're trying to devise a plan. I'm trying to keep it simple, right? So it's catch, kick, yeah, catch, kick, speed, and an evasion. That's it for the moment, right? Up until you're about 12 or 13, that's where the emphasis is, right? And that's what we're trying to get in all the coaches to buy into, and all the coaches to buy into just playing football. Do you know what I mean, lads? You don't have to be doing anything. Right, you have them 2 times a week. We want more than 50 or 60% of the time. I want to playing football and having fun. Let them play. And I think that's huge benefit. And look, Ballymun's a fabulous club, but right. But Ballymun has less players than the clans there. You know what I mean? Like, we're around the clans. You know what I mean? We're lucky to have a team at every age group. Lucky. Do you know what I mean? Martins probably have more players than we do. So what's going on? Like, how come we have 6? How come we had 8 on the panel in the 80s and 6 or 7? Like, how come, is it Mulroy, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. How come Mulroy is such a good player? Right? And a lot of it has to do, how come in Kerry they keep winning? A lot of it is when we're growing up in environments, it's our expectations, like, and it's the coaches we meet. Not so much the coaches we meet. So Mulroy would have seen JP. Do you know what I mean? Like, so he's looking at a JP. He's not looking at a fella like that. He says, "Geez, oh, the hell," and he's learning. Right? You know what I mean? Like, if you're down in Kerry, you were Mikey Sheehy. You know what I mean? You'd be saying, "How there was like in my era, right?" And then was Morris Fitz. And then the gooch, you know what I mean? The standard says, oh, geez, I'll be better than them. Or you know what I mean? It's all, there's a lot of that goes on as well. And a lot of skill development is by just observation.
Mm. And I'd say you mentioned Conor Callahan and a couple of the Dublin boys is the 24/7 and the gyms at the
Mm.
back. Sam Murray would be very similar. Like he eats
Yeah.
24/7, you know, and that's that. I suppose is the modern day footballer. But I can tell you, like for people on the outside watching him, it's a lot of gym work. But I drove past the pitch there the other morning, and there he was out
Yeah.
kicking,
Yeah.
you know. And then I got a message on my phone yesterday evening. He was walking back out with a bag of footballs,
Yeah.
you know.
And
So
you
he's
see,
not neglecting that side of it either.
yeah, but come here. But you see, like, that's why now I've only seen small bits because Loud, you know, you don't get to see Loud on the telly that much, right? You know what I
That's a
mean?
good
But
thing.
I seen him, right? And I just looked and I says, that lad's got skill. Like, I mean, like what he was doing, like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So you just need to change the culture where you just need more fellas to go that way. You know what I mean? And that's the difficult thing for coaches. Like, how do we do that? How do we? Because there's, but like, I suppose the real trick and genius is the ability to train. Really, the ability. You know what I mean? Like, the difference between me and them is that maybe I could do 24/7 for 8 months. They'll do it booking all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like, they
Yeah.
won't take a break. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
So yeah, no, so Val,
and
right?
that's our one.
I won't. You have to be very, very good with your time
No,
still.
it's all right, sir. I'm sending you on the invoice. You told me to.
uh, so I just want to ask you another question here. Obviously, like I said, anyone or most of the people that hopefully would be listening would have known that. Yeah, you had success trophy wise down in Trilly IT. Became Cavan manager, got them to the first Ulster final, I think, and it was a long
Ah, well,
period of
yeah,
time as
yeah.
well. You know, went down. You
Won an
took
El
over
McKenna Cup, a few Railway Cups, but that's not
National League.
that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's not the success. But like, I mean, and one with the club and all that. And, yeah, but that's the
no,
yeah. Go on, Carl.
well,
Sorry.
that's not how you measure it. Yeah, no, I know that. Yeah, so yeah, manage Loud, our native county. Okay, so again,
We haven't
you've
got
had
2 hours.
good inter. By listening to you, following you on social media, from having a few conversations with you in regards to football development and seeing you in action down at my own club a few years ago, you obviously still have the bug. I know you mentioned your age around you're 61 or 62. You still have the coaching bug. You still have that. I suppose the question I'm looking to ask is that are you waiting around for another project? You know, I know you the Dublin 40s. You won over 40s All Ireland. Are you waiting for a project to go back into a club? Are you looking to coach the minors in the club? Are you looking to still get involved and have that impact with a team still?
Well, probably
Or is it
yeah. Well, look, it's more. I don't think I have the bug as much. You know what I mean? Maybe like I mean, I wouldn't have classed my performance in the clans as being great. Now I wasn't. You know, you know. Look, I was trying my best at the time in the clans, right? But I wasn't particularly. I wouldn't be satisfied with myself, right? And that's because of other things, right?
mm-hmm.
Um, in terms of the bug, yeah. Look, I do more like my job now is like start to say, can I help Ballymun create 4 coaches to keep it going?
Yeah.
That's thing, and can we set a plan? So that's Ballymun. I'm working with another 2 or 3. Well, two. Um, one proposed county, like in terms of development, and another club on the south side. I'm doing something tonight, yeah. And I was going doing one in Cavan, just exchange of ideas, like. But it's not about me coaching; it's about me trying to help coaches
Okay.
coach. Yeah, in terms of the book, yeah, sure, maybe. I don't know when this is over, maybe, but I mean, look, I was helping a few of my friends that they were doing the girls' team. It was a bit of a laugh last year, you know what I mean? But once again, yeah, I'd say to be honest, Carl, it's at this stage, I've done so much of it. Like, I mean, as I said, my first team was when I was 12 or 13. So, yeah, I started going to looking for different things to do as well. You know what I mean? Things that way outside my comfort zone, and you know what I mean. I like reading and sort of poetry and all things that I've never, you know what I mean, that I've never tried. Or I used to be I used to love to go traveling, but that's gone. But these days that'll
Yeah.
come back. Like, but I loved going to Australia. I was in Australia 3 times or 4 times. I was in Japan and seeing the sport over there. Like, you know what I mean, and
Did you spend long in Australia, Fab?
yeah, I did a few sort of around their summer, which is Christmas. You know what I mean? So I would have done 4 weeks at a time, you know, that sort of thing. And Australian Institute of Sport I would have been in. Do you know what I mean? And a friend of mine doing a PhD in recovery. You know what I mean? So he spent 3 years about how to get fellas to recover. You know, using contrast bats and ice bats and measuring all this and really scientific sort of physio and walking around. And I was fierce impressed with, you know what I mean, the way they spend, the way they go after it, like in terms of science, like they're incredible. Like, I mean, Kevin Ball, who did a talk for, with Dublin, you know what I mean? Like he would analyse the Australian kick, you know what I mean? He would spend, you know what I mean, doing research paper on how do you kick the ball right in Australian rules, like, and have all this massive, you say, studio with slow mo cameras, like, you know, the real deal, like, you know what I mean? Whereas we're starting trying to take clips off the telly, and that's another thing. Like, I mean, you know, I don't know whether it's right. Like, say the way we drop the ball onto our foot, like, do you know what I mean? Like, you know, the way we hold the ball, we don't really, you know, you do it, I do it, yeah. And now for me, teaching kicking, it is all about golf, right? As I say. So if I'm teaching Craig or Carl or anybody kicking, I say to them, I say, I want you to move the ball, like, right? I ask for the outcome, right? I don't really give them the technique. So, right, I'll guide them a bit, like I say. So I want you to move the ball right to left and put over the bar, left to right over the bar. No, you know, it's about shape, right? Spin it with the outside of your foot, both feet. Do you know that sort of way, right? Or just drive it straight. I don't want any spin on the ball. Or I want a top spin on the ball. You know what I mean? So we're looking at sort of, can you move the ball around the way you want? And Jack O'Shea, because I was always asking people, I said, Jack O'Shea would have been a hero of mine now, you know. And he was a good man for scoring points, we say, from good distance, you know. You'd be looking at it and you're saying, oh, yeah, right, okay. And then you say, Jack, how do you practice, like? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, once again, the simplicity of it, right? You know what I mean? And that's the simplicity. He says, I never go out past 25 yards, well. Now, here's a fellow who was doing most of his scoring 40 foot, you know, midfield or in his days, you know. I says, and I was kind of amazed at that. He says, yeah, for me, it's all about good contact and moving the ball. And I says, all right, okay. He says, the rest of it is just power.
That
You know?
that outcome where you were explaining on moving the ball, be it left to right or right to left, the golf style. I put out a video there myself there last year and goalkeepers kickouts on YouTube, but
Yeah, go on, yeah.
I
Let's have a
got
look.
I got a little bit of stick about it because
Go on.
I broke it down into a couple of different styles of kick. So to me, it's not just you put the ball in the corner and you kick it out. You
Yeah,
might have to curl the ball up over defender,
yeah,
and that type of kick you can't just ping it. Like, so
yeah,
Cluxton's probably the best at it because
yeah,
sometimes he goes long, sometimes he goes
yeah,
short, sometimes he goes
yeah,
low, but they're all different style kicks.
yeah.
And it's just listening to the way you describe there. It's quite interesting, I suppose, to give them the outcome and let's see how they can come up with how
Yeah.
they can follow through in
But
it. You know.
yeah, without being too, you see, like I think that we're too descriptive as coaches. You know, we tell fellas too much. Like we should be trying to get them to tell us.
Mm.
So if I'm teaching you, we say them kickouts, and you're after bringing up, well, we'll do kickouts in a week or two's time. We'll figure a few clips and have a look at. Them. We are right. It's like kickout is not just a kickout. It's not just, you know what I mean. Well, years ago, it's put it down and fucking lump it, like yeah. But yeah, you should be if you're in goal. I should be saying to you, right? You know what I mean, I want you to move the ball. If I say to you, move the ball anyway, you should be able to do it. That's
Mhm.
me. And you should be able to do it with 2 feet. Do you know what I mean? Like, why not? Like, challenge me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we can put the ball down anyway. And sure, like, the extra thing, even being reasonably good with your, your non-dominant foot for the kickouts. And then the kickouts, as I said, the high catch, right? Some goalkeepers are nightmares to try to catch because they, you know what I mean, they're after hitting it with like a golf shot with backspin, and it fucking sits up in the air and it's going to come down straight, like, and you're underneath it, like, if you don't get your timing right. So the fellow who comes late will get it. You know what I mean? Whereas if you put a trajectory on it and saying, I'm not hitting it to him, I'm hitting it to 3 seconds, so we're going to hit it to wherever it is, usually the wing, like, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? But it is, yeah. I wouldn't apologise for being detailed. I think you're on the right line, like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
It's just trying to help them understand that it's not just, there's so many, would say, club level goalkeepers that either I coach or I play with that has just a one style kick, and they could be very good at that one style kick. But then all of a sudden they'll come into playing into a gale of a wind, and that one style kick doesn't work. They're
Yeah.
not able to adapt to a different style of kick.
You've seen, as you said, Cluxon, he was the best, right? You know what I mean? Is the best and completely obsessional, lads. We've talked about these fellas, like, he brings it to another level. You know what I mean? Like, he's probably, yeah. You know what I mean? If you were to say, like, complete that, and he would, yeah. Like, you'd see him, like, he'd drive a ball to Flynn, drive it. You know, what I call it drive, which it's not going to go too high, but it's going to be hit straight. You know what I mean? And then he'd cord it left and he'd cord right. He actually, now, you do know with goalkeepers that they do favour certain kicks, like.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
they do favour certain areas of the pitch to hit. You know what I mean? Like, you can work it out. So, but that comes back to your analysis. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? So the whole thing is, if I'm playing you, Craig, and I have a bit of backup and a bit of thing, right? I would say, where does he? So yeah, give me statistician might say 60% left wing, middle left wing, whatever it is, right? Right. Well, I'm going to take that kick away from you. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to sort of tactically try to set up that ain't happening.
Yeah. There's a coach of mine actually sent it to me there on Friday night, a video of me taking a kick out from about 6 years ago. And this was not done intentionally. It was, it's just a complete fluke, I suppose. But the kick from 6 years ago that he sent me a video of, and all the same players were involved,
right,
was the exact same kick that we done in the final this year, and it worked.
Right.
6 years in the difference, not planned, not worked on. But and then that's obviously a favourite kick of mine without me even realising.
Well, you see, the beauty about look, don't forget now, Croker. Croker's a big area, you know what I mean? So it gives you more options as a goalkeeper. And plus, in Dublin, I suppose, the big thing that they have as a team is they don't hide. You know yourself, like, Carl will be there playing cornerback, right? You know there, and you have to think, like, he's looking for it, but he's not really looking for it.
He doesn't want it, yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? He started saying, I hope this fucking corner forward comes over and stands beside me now quickly. Do you know what I mean? No, you see, in other words, like, Cluxton has everybody live. There's, you know what I mean? They'll all will move to get it, right? Whereas you think of your club, like, there are fellas now, I'm not giving out. It is the way. So you have to cure that. Like, you have to have everybody wanting to get the ball to give you more options. You could have a full back line in club, like, don't be fucking kicking it from Asian.
Yeah, and that's why Dublin are so good, in my opinion. And it's like, if you look at Cluxton's kickouts the last couple of years, they're not as picture perfect as we say Niall Morgan and Beggan are.
Yeah.
Like, their kickouts are like phenomenal. They are on the money. Cluxton doesn't have to be, because all the players want the ball and are capable of winning it.
Yeah, and when they get the ball, they don't give it away. Do you know what I mean? So, and that's confidence and thing. But Dublin, and I'm gonna leave us on this because, do you know what I mean? Otherwise, we're gonna be going for an Oscar. Dublin. So James McCarthy, we call. What do I know? Like, so James at 18 didn't have a left foot. Dean Rock didn't have a left foot, right? But they would have a culture that we have to learn. So Dean Rock this year, was it against Cavan, scored 2 with his left foot. That's the first time I've seen him do that in Croker. You know what I mean? And that's because they would have goals, I'd imagine. I don't know this for thing, but it looks like it. that will go down and will kick with our left foot. Like, you know, that'll be part of my development. Whatever it is they're going to develop, that's what I'm going to develop. You know,
Fantastic. Yeah. So I'll probably jump in, Val, because like you
Fun.
said, people will see the time. They
You know,
will
because
go
we're all
ahead
busy. You know what I mean? We
to
all
listen
don't
and
forget. I have to
enjoy.
go anti-clockwise around the block. Carl, you're after freezing on us.
So come here.
No, you're all right. You're moving your head there. Go on, say something.
No, I'm all right. Val,
Go on, go for
you're
it.
there. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look, Val, thanks a million for agreeing to come on and talk to myself and Craig. We really, really appreciate it. And just to go back, just to finish up, I know you said earlier on the success in coaching, you know, some people measure it in cups and medals and trophies. And I think you said before that you measure it in whether lads across the road to you or, you know, to say hello or have a
Well, no,
conversation.
I don't want to come
Rightly said,
across that I'm not competitive. Yeah, I love winning.
no,
I love winning, right? But the bigger picture
yeah,
is the bigger picture
no,
is it's about the journey and the people we meet as well.
for
Because
sure. And
the medals are only receipts for the memories.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So,
no,
you know, you look at. We always are really tight and have great crack with the people we win with, right? So even the fellas in the '80s in Ballymun, we'd all have great crack. You know what I mean? Still, you know. If I meet thing, I didn't win anything with the Dublin Miners. Nothing. We were beaten. I only had the 1 year. We were beaten after 4 games against Kildare, right? And heartbreaking stuff after 4 years of work. But all them lads, do you know what I mean? All them lads learned a lot, you know, and they're all
mm,
more than like I'm actually talking to 2 of them tonight as coaches. Do you know what I mean? So the other thing too is that when we're coaching, we're setting an example for the next generation. We're teaching. So any team you're
yeah,
coaching, right? You're get
no,
you're giving the example. So in other words, like when I started off coaching, I coached like what I seen, right? Yeah. So I coached. I felt like a fella, Brian Clark, right? Was his name? National school teacher, right? Gave us huge devotion. He gave us hard work. So we trained twice a day when we were 11. Do you know what I mean? For the national schools, right? Do you know what I mean? So we trained the after school and then we come back at 6 o'clock and we train again, right? Okay. So people, if you did that now, you'd be, you know, they'd be moaning, like, you know what I mean? But it actually does farm fellas, you know what I mean? You say, yeah, working hard, yeah, I understand. He gave us that. He gave us desire. He says you can be the best. And we won the primary schools, whatever it was, right? But the bad thing, well, not the bad things, well, he didn't know any better. It should have half time, all he did was roar, like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, right, so for the first 10 years or more, maybe more, up until the last 10 years, I thought that's what you did.
yeah,
I thought you just gave out at halftime. Like, here it is. You know what I mean? I'm having a bad day and I'm going to use plenty of F's, right? You know what I mean? Like, you know, start off low, be angry, you know, and certain periods of my life, I knew it was easy to be angry, but shout and roar and give out. Do you know what I mean? Honestly, you know what I mean? Nowadays, right, you look at me coaching and you say, he does nothing. He is the laziest yo I've ever seen. I break the team into 2, forwards and backs. I says, give us fucking 2 or 3 things that are working well for us. Yeah, yeah. They have their discussion, and I'll facilitate that if I have to. And give us one thing we're going to change in the second half. You know what I mean? And if it's thing, and you'd prod it a bit if it wasn't going great, right? But if you want people to grow and be better, that's what I do. So even in an intermediate team, that's what I did with them. Like let them talk, right? And say what answers you got now, and then just wrap it up with 2 sentences. You know, 2 or 3 sentences. Okay, second half, right? You're going to do A, B, or C. You can only give about 2 or 3 instructions, right? So in other words, a friend of mine, right, with no football background, he says, don't give a fella a problem, give him a solution, right? But I was brought up in the thing where you just give them the fucking problem. You are useless. You know what I mean? You are getting scalded. You know what I mean? You call out Mark. You know what I mean? And the other thing, and I'm gonna find the little thing.
we
Yeah, is that we don't. You know what I mean? The big thing in
no,
coaching is do we do the players actually know what we want them to do? So nowadays, and the last thing I'm going to say is, so if I want any youths to do something, right, to do a certain kick out or to do this or that, right, I will get a video clip. I get a video clip or two. I'll send it to your phone and say that. Or if I use the word, you say intensity is always the word. You know when you ever hear hard work intensity? Every manager's always saying hard work intensity, right? And I'm down, you be there and you're saying, well, what's that like? What does it look like? What do you know what I mean? When I say intensity, it means something different to you, everybody. So now I would show them a clip or two of a team being intense, right? When I say intense, lads, that is the level of effort I want. So I do all the team talk should be done through video, right? Very, very short, right? This is what we want to do. If we want you to do a kick out, show you an example. Better still, if you're doing video analysis, don't do it with your team. So if the Martins are playing, right, and I'm the manager of Martins, right, because I believe they play very well, you know, and what you do is you get them thing. I wouldn't do the video now, so I would show them playing football. So if I want to get a point across, we say bad defending, yeah, I won't take the Martins back defending badly and put it on the screen. I'll get another crowd because I want to take the filter away. I want you to be honest. If I put up, we say Craig makes a bloomer and goal, right? Or bad kick out, or whatever it is, right? If I throw that up, right, and you're supposed to be kicking it to number 8 and it doesn't go to whatever happens, right? Right, immediately, Craig, he's a human being, like myself, so I'm going to protect myself. Do you know what I mean? Right, so my first thing, I was going to defend myself. My first thing is, I'm not, in my head is, I'm going to learn, I'm going to learn. So I've immediately put up a wall. Whereas if I show Cluxton making the mistake to the Martins fellas, right? What's going on there? You think, right? Okay, how would you correct that? Right? You're sending the message that way, and people talk better about it. Like Craig is not going to be defensive. The fella who should have went for the ball is not going to be defensive. You know what I mean? And we get a learning situation then. Anyway, it's been interesting. I have to go clock. What way is clockwise? Clockwise is right, is it? Yeah. Anti-clockwise, yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know. You're the.
I go, you know what I mean?
You're
The old COVID has me gaga. Go on, look.
You're the man. You're the man with the treatment. Come here. No, look, seriously. Thanks a million. I was delighted when you said you were happy enough to come on. Some of the insights and some of the points, tips, you know, kind of the way that you do some things that you've given us have been amazing, and I'm sure a lot of coaches out there and even players in general will get something from this when they hopefully listen back. And again, I can't thank you enough, and I'm even looking forward to listening back already.
Yeah, well, the subtitles. Just put the subtitles on so they know what we're saying.
Yeah. All that's going to come up is bleeding.
Yeah, bleeding. Yeah. I'm terrible. On it. I forget. Yeah, because I just sit down and talk. But what I'm going to say is that I'd like to talk to Craig and yourself again. Right, not on this show, right? Especially about kickouts and spins, and I'll be into that now. Yeah. When we get around about 2 weeks time. 2 weeks time, I'll do a rake of clips on kickouts, and we'll have a bit of an old talk maybe.
Yeah.
I want to learn. In other words, I want to pick your brain. Yeah.
Carl is frozen on us, I think.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
That's what it's
Right.
all
I'll let you go. God bless you, lads.
Take care, Val.
Thanks a million.
Thanks for the
Appreciate it. Thank
Look,
you.
keep me going.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. We really appreciate your support. Don't forget, guys, to subscribe to our YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast, and all our social media pages. Thank you. See you next time.